Okay, hi. Let's talk about debut authors that I really want to write more books. There's something really exciting about picking up a book and like this being your first interaction with an author and absolutely loving the book, and then going and looking at their backlist and realizing you have so many more books that you can read where you can meet the author on the page again. It's like a really exciting feeling. And then sometimes you read a debut novel that this is the only book they've come out with, and it's so good, you're like, oh my god, if this is their debut, what are they going to do next? Those are the authors I want to talk about today. I'm going to start with an author who has, as of now, actually come out with or announced their next book, and that is Cali Fajardo-Anstine, and she wrote Sabrina and Karina, which was a short story collection. So while this short story collection was like not my favorite one I've ever read, it's honestly hard to write a short story collection where every single one is a hit. I really enjoyed what she was doing. She was focusing on female characters in a specific geographic region, mainly Denver, Colorado, and really focusing on female dynamics of female characters with male characters that were tended to be abusive, and female familial relationships, and then the connection to gentrification in a place. The thing that I thought made that collection a little less successful was how tight the themes were. So she really didn't explore much outside of those topics, which it was a lot of topics, right? I just listed quite a bit, but every single book or every single short story kind of connected all around those topics. It's a weird thing to say, but thematically it was a little bit too tight, but that just made me really interested to see how she would explore that type of thematic content in a long form as an actual novel. She has Woman of Light that is scheduled to be published in 2022. A dazzling epic of betrayal, love, and fate that spans 5 generations of an indigenous Chicano family in the American West. So, check so many boxes for me. It's set in the West, and how she wrote Sabrina and Karina was so atmospheric that I am I love when an author can make me nostalgic for a place that I don't have nostalgia tied to. I love generational novels. I don't know if it spans 5 generations as in it's a family saga over time, or if it's 5 generations kind of connected and interacting. Either way, love that type of thing. So I am very excited that she actually has one that is set to come out in the year. The rest of the authors on this list, as far as I know, do not have any expected publications. The next author is Gable. So she wrote The Ensemble. This came out in 2019, and I loved it the time I read it. It was essentially about a quartet, and they are all friends in a way, but kind of not. And it was the dynamics of their friendship and how that impacted them working as a quartet together over time. I'm not good, but I did play violin from 4th to 10th grade. So, and I really love the sound of a string quartet. So I personally connected to it in that way. I loved how she connected that plot theme of music into the writing itself. It was pretty seamlessly done. I felt like it wasn't the perfect novel. Dynamically, it took place over a span of time, and the characters started to kind of bleed together more and more, and it was harder to decipher the differences between them. Part of that felt maybe like intentional, but part of it might have just been not. I couldn't honestly tell. But I connected a lot to a lot of the characters in a way I usually don't, where I was kind of like, wow, that's my own thought process on the page. And so yeah, really looking forward to seeing what she comes out with next when she chooses to write another book. Oh yeah, I guess I should have said at the beginning, like, I'm probably going to name this like something like debut authors that need to write more. No one needs to do anything for me, but like, I'd love it if they did write more. Like, I would read it, I would review it, like, I would pump it up. So yeah. Anyway, next one, Alicia Elliott. Alicia Elliott wrote a nonfiction. It was like a memoir essay collection, kind of a mind spread out on the ground. It was just honestly my favorite essay collection I've ever read. I loved the essays. I loved how she took like just like a very small idea of something that was going on in her life and then like connected it to other things. It's like one of those things where I honestly like don't know how she was doing it so well that it's hard for me to describe, because all I was thinking was like, yes, this is the type of essay I want to read every time I read an essay. And the scope of the essays was really large and dynamic. Like, it wasn't feeling like too constricted by what she was trying to convey across all of the essays, and it was just supreme. I would honestly read whatever she came out with. She comes out with nonfiction, she comes out with another memoir, she comes out with poetry, a fiction read. I mean, I'm preferential to fiction, but like literally whatever it is, I will consume it. Next one, a book I read, an author I read from last year, Jackie S. So, I read Daryl. It is just one of those books that is so short, but does so much in such a short period of time. It was really unlike anything I had ever read plot-wise. Thematically, there were so many different topics it was touching on. It was touching on sex. It was touching on relationships, like romantic relationships. Like a relationship of, what do I want to say? Like a romantic relationship in the sense that they're married, but like, are they doing okay? Yeah, like I said, gender, there's a lot of talk about sexuality. There's like mental health issues. You could read this book from so many different angles and take something new from it each time, yet it was so accessible, so conversational, that you kind of didn't realize everything that was going on as you were reading it. It's kind of one of those books that, like, yeah, it was like maybe 200 pages, but it has so many hours of talking content, like so many hours of content where you could just be analyzing the book, chatting about the book with other people. Every single time I've seen someone talk about the book, they're talking about a different perspective, a different angle, a different theme. Like, if that was Jackie S.'s debut, I'm so curious to see what they do for, I think, what are her pronouns? I think her. Yep. I'm so interested to see what her next book looks like. Okay, last one on this list, because I actually don't read a lot of debut authors, because I don't actually keep up on like the new and popular books as much anymore. I was trying to do that for a few years, but realized it's not really my thing. So anyway, not the point of this video. The last one, which again doesn't feel that surprising, is Tommy Orange. So I read his book There, I think the year it came out. He took on so much in a debut novel. There were so many characters that all felt very distinct. The plot of it was kind of going towards a certain event at a powwow. And there were so many characters that were interconnected into each other in a way that was subtle and wasn't over the top, but they were also connected by generational and intergenerational traumas that are inflicted upon Indigenous folks. And I really appreciated the weaving of it. This book felt like it was probably took forever to write, forever to edit, and I just would really love to see what he does next. And again, I know I talk about this every time I talk about this book, but I just love that it took place in Oakland. I love seeing the Bay Area in reads. It's where I grew up, not directly in Oakland, but making me feel like I am the place I grew up when I'm not actually there, just through the page, and just making it a living, breathing place. Oakland felt like a character on the page that kind of ran throughout the entire book. And I loved that. And I just would really love to see what he does next. And that's my whole list. There were a few authors that I've only read the debuts from that I could have put on, but in the past year they have come out with a new book that I just haven't read yet. That's all I have. Let me know if you have any authors on your list where you're like, when the heck are you coming out with your next book? I would love to hear about it, and until next time, happy reading.